Hi, Mira. Welcome to Tui with the Duncans. I am otherwise known as Mom. Today we're going to talk about executive functioning part 2, which is about older middle school and going into high school age kids. Keep in mind that ADHD is an executive function delay. So as such, it's really important to us that we don't punish our kids for something that's part of their medical condition, no matter how frustrating it might be. Remember, we have to meet them where they are. I can't stand when I hear this is where they should be. I know this is where I would like them to be, but guess what? We have to meet them where they actually are. So keep that in mind. And keep that in mind when you're teaching them skills so that these kids can eventually do these things either on their own or with a little bit of help or using the tools that we've given them. Lots of people use daily organizers and planners throughout their lives, right? We have assistants. Some people have somebody to help them organize their home. So remember, tools are our friends. And we have to also remember that ADHD and executive functioning are not part of the standard teacher training. So we have a lot of educating the educators that we have to do. And while these kids need to learn to advocate for themselves, it's a goal. It's not an expectation in our house, because these are the very skills that they need to advocate for themselves, are the very skills that they are weak in or lacking in, like planning, emotional regulation, time management, organization, working memory, etc. So don't forget, even at the older grades, free time and creativity, creative play help create those connections between setting goals, planning, prioritizing, and completing a task. And this goes for sports and games and other creative endeavors as well. So remember to give your kids some free time. We try our best every day. My daughter skates, my son plays hockey, he rows, he bike rides. We try to make sure there's something every day that they can use their energy up in, but also that they can use that organizational mind. And that leads me to remind you of the planning sessions I mentioned in the first video. They are very, very critical, especially now as the kids are older. The kids need to start working on their own ways of planning with parental follow-up still, because that's key to make sure that things weren't forgotten. I still use it as an adult, that Sunday night, what do I have coming up for the week? What do I need to get ready? What do I need to make sure that Tuesday night's free, so I need to take care of things on Monday, that type of thing. Make sure you use those planning sessions. And as our kids got older and homework became more of an issue, organizing folders and backpacks, not losing worksheets, excuse me, and the like is where we started to struggle. So I found myself being their personal frontal lobe, which is not a good strategy if you want the kids to actually learn how to do it for themselves. So after a few years of owning their organizational skills for myself, I realized the error in my ways and started asking them things like, now where should we put this and where should it go, and how would you like to organize your backpack? How would you like to organize your folders? What color coding system will work for you? How would you like your drawers organized? I think very differently than my kids, and I organize differently than my kids. So I really need their input on what will work for them. And I have to be willing to be flexible myself. I'm asking it of them. So guess what? I got to learn too. Lyle really got this and was able to pare down his belongings in his bedroom. He put most things away because he didn't have that much. Nora, on the other hand, being kind of a typical girl, and she likes to hoard things, but beyond that, she has a lot of clothes, she has a lot of knickknacks and a lot of things, so it's a little bit harder for her to organize, so I really have to help her to a great degree. But things like the Pokemon cards had their box, and drawers were pretty reasonably put together for Lyle. And he still needed me to guide him through each of the steps, and I'd come in and check on him. I couldn't leave him to his own devices. I still can't, as far as cleaning up his room. But he has a much better idea of what my expectations are now, so we're in a much better place. And don't forget that what's totally normal for a child, a neurotypical child, is not necessarily what is normal for an ADHD child. So ADHD children are 3 to 5 years behind their typical peers when it comes especially to executive functioning skills. And I really have to keep that in mind when I'm talking to the kids about what I should expect of them and what they should be doing. But really, most importantly, I have to remember that when a teacher calls me or the school calls me about something that the kids didn't do or they wish they had done better, I can't fall into that normative trap that the teachers call and I start yelling at my kids. I really have to advocate for them in those when those things happen. So again, let's meet him where he's at. And really important, and this is something I learned probably a little bit too late, but instead of making him feel badly about what is out of his control, I now really work on teaching skills. What's appropriate? What supports do you need to get this done in a way that school teachers and myself will be happy, as opposed to you should have done this. It's really, really important to work on those skills and not be judgmental, because that judgmental streak can really do some harm. And if that means frequent reminders while he's still 14 and 15 years old, so be it. Again, checklists do not work for my kids. He unironically tries to remember and unironically forgets to check the checklists. So until that frontal lobe is more developed, which for boys, remember, is somewhere in their late 20s, and for girls a little bit younger, but still in their mid to late 20s, I will continue to help and continue to remind him. And I will back off sometimes and we'll see if we have made any progress. But regardless, I'm always going to be there to help out. So here we are at 14 and 15, still reminding both kids of the individual steps that they need to take to get things done. And I know I'm seeing progress. And as for homework, the kids have learned with a lot of guidance, and they help utilize their routines. You know, they follow those routines. We have to be really consistent in them. Homework is done in the same spot every day. Their setup includes everything they need, from extra paper to pencils and pens and protractors to their extra set of school books that we have at home. It's really key that that routine stays in place. Nora's happens to be on the dining room table, so every so often we have to have it cleaned up so that we can have a family dinner there. But otherwise, that's really, really key. Keep that homework spot the same every day. Nora's also learned that she needs music to calm her mind so she can work. And she tries not to listen to anything with words that she doesn't know. Sometimes it's classical music, sometimes it's pop music that she loves and she just already knows the words, because that way she's not spending her time figuring out the words. It's just that background noise. It's almost like an internal fidget. She also sometimes listens to it on headphones and other times on a speaker. Either way, I don't care as long as she's getting her work done. And Lyle's learned that he needs a chair that moves and bounces. That's his fidget that he needs for homework. So he uses an exercise ball, on a stand that is a chair with a back and wheels. And that's really been helpful here at home. And he also uses at school now like an executive chair, what someone would use at work, that moves and swivels and bounces and goes up and down, and also has that bouncy mesh back that really, really helps him being able to focus, have that internal fidget happen with the chair. That way he's not fidgeting with other things. You'll probably notice that chair in his videos. And then for long-term assignments, we've learned to schedule it backwards. So we take a blank calendar page or a spreadsheet. Each of the kids likes different things. And we work backwards from the due date. And we write in everything they need to do, from the due date to the final draft, to the edit, to the second draft, to the edit, to the first draft. We write in brainstorming. We write in finished book. If it's a book report, we write in how many pages per night they need to read in order to finish that 150-page book in 10 days. They need to write in 15 pages. We even went down to the point of writing read pages 1 through 15, read pages 16 through 30, that type of thing. So that way there was no mistaking what needed to be done in order to get the book report done. And you can take that same philosophy and logic to any sort of project that needs to be done, even if it's only 1 or 2 days long. And of course, we've built in wiggle room to account for busy days or days with extracurricular things that we can't put off. He can't read all 15 things on the day that he has hockey, so we push it off to the next day and we build that in. And it really, really helped to keep projects on time. We're doing the same thing with our weekly schedules now and that dreaded screen time. So we're building out backwards. You have this many hours in a week once you take away school, once you take away camp, whatever it is. We're coming up on the summer, I know. Once you take away all of those must-do things, dinner, sleep, all of that stuff, you're left with X numbers of hours for free time. And how much of that free time do you really want to spend on a video game or on a screen? So we really have to work on that. And if Nora's late for something, this is a good one. If Nora's ever late, because she's really, really, they're both really bad with times, but Nora with her skating, we make her pay for her ice time. It's $6 for a half an hour, and she has to work to save her money. And that's definitely, I don't think it's too harsh of a lesson. It's a natural consequence. You still have to pay for the time, even though you're not showing up or you're showing up late. We had a resource teacher throughout middle school who would not only check them out at the end of the day to make sure homework was in their assignment notebook completely, but also checking in a couple mornings a week to make sure there was no missing work and allow time to do that missing work if there was any, and to help clean out backpacks and folders and even the dreaded locker. That was written into their 504 plans and is something that I think is really, really helpful and was really, really necessary. Lyle also really became adept at using the apps on his iPad. It was a school-provided iPad. Nora uses them for the classes she has to. She doesn't love them quite as much. She still uses a paper planner. She's created her own organizational system for that, and it's been working really well. It's almost like a bullet journal, but Lyle really likes using the planner on the app on the iPad. He also likes to see things like his smart pen and uses Inspiration, a mind map, for writing papers. He uses SnapType for any worksheets he receives, which is great. He can take a picture of it and type out his answer, because with his dysgraphia, he really needs to do that. They've also taken to setting alerts during their class periods to remind them to turn something in. So if science is at 10:50, at 10:52, there is an alert set with an alarm that goes off so they hear it and they see it, turn in homework assignment. And that's also helped. They're also allowed to take pictures of the board of assignments, because if they can't write quickly, they need to still have that assignment known. And a last but important reminder about executive functioning and social skills. So social success is all about executive functioning. It's about managing emotions and situations, knowing what to say, knowing who your audience is, knowing when to interject, controlling your impulses, reading social cues, and knowing the context of a situation. All of those part of executive functioning. So when you see a child struggling socially, take a step back and say, what social skills are missing here? But then look at those social skills and how they relate to executive functioning. And it's a really key connection to make. As kids get older, those social situations become even more complex. So understanding the future consequences of an event, understanding time and how important it is to other people. So my time is not more important than yours. So we really try and work hard on being on time to respect that other person's time. I'd highly suggest practicing conversations in different settings. We ask the kids to order their own food starting at a young age, to order their own pizzas, to read a map when we're trying to go somewhere on the train, let's say. So we try to do all of that, because all of those social things really take those planning and prioritizing and all of that. It takes executive function skills. So don't forget that they don't just apply to homework assignments or school or tests. These executive functioning skills apply to everything in life. Sometimes we even ask them to practice a conversation, like, if you're going to call a friend, what are you going to say? And if their mom answers the phone instead of them, how do you ask for them? And if they're not home, what's the message you're going to leave with the mom? So that, or on the answering machine, so that they really aren't caught off guard. And for heaven's sakes, simple weekday dinners. Who likes what to make, what to buy, how much time it'll take to make the meal. I mean, we have to do all of this planning in our regular life. So keep that in mind. Ask for help with all of this. How much time are we going to need? You know, you have to be at practice at 6 p.m. So what do we need to make? How much time do we need to give ourselves to make it and eat it, etc. So be patient with our kids. Not just for school, but for their regular lives. Hopefully, I know it was a long one, hopefully it was a good video. Please, again, always leave comments in the section below. Let us know if you have any questions, and for sure, if you have any ideas for anything you want to hear about, we'd love to hear it. Happy to talk on any of our topics, any of your topics. And thanks so much. Have a great one.